Okay, hello. As usual, it's going on so much longer than I would have thought. All right, now before I get into what's coming up after this is to get into more specific domains in within school, within the world of work, and a little bit in leisure, and then talk about where specific types are going to congregate in greater than usual numbers in those more in particular subsections of those domains. But before I do that, I figure I might as well start with some basic principles that are at work behind all of this, what I've observed, and also what makes sense according to this theory of about temperamental leanings of people. So this one I thought of. It's like, one thing I've done a lot of menial jobs in my life, a lot of like just really low paid, low skill, sort of service jobs, things like that. And I can tell you that at that level of things, there really are all kinds. They're just all kinds of people. So one distinction to make when kind of going into talking about these categories is, making distinction between jobs and careers. Jobs, well, things that are jobs, anybody really, it could be a fairly random distribution of people of different types in them. And maybe they're there because they were not able to obtain a higher education. Maybe they're there because they just really like that kind of work. They don't want to be I know some people who were in jobs like that because they wanted to save their brains for other things. They wanted a job that they could just do the job and then leave at the end of the shift, and that's it. And they're completely free, and they're not getting texts all night long. They're not like missing their daughter's recital because some asshole client is making them come in and burn the midnight oil or whatever. There are lots of reasons. And also just because society needs a lot of people doing those lower paid, low skilled jobs. There are a lot of people, as any demos that have ever been done of day without immigrants. Several years ago, I heard of it being done in New York City, day without Mexicans. And just to let everybody really feel what it would be like if there weren't a huge number of people doing all these jobs that don't have any status, but are absolutely essential, that we all depend on. And what would happen if those people just disappeared? So anyway, sorry, got off track a bit. So what I'm talking about, I'll be talking about here are more those who are in careers, i.e. where there's more of a cadre, sort of, there's training required, there's sort of a lot of focused effort over a length of time to be able to even qualify to do jobs like that. That's how, of course, we'll be able to see more clearly what the temperamental leanings might be, just because for people to get there, they have to have made a certain kind of commitment in work. And they probably had to spend a lot of money or lose a lot of money to get there, either way, same thing. And to work very hard. And probably in many cases, especially in the United States, they've had to have been also very lucky. Quite a few of them. They've had to have been able to benefit from certain kinds of resources of their families or, their backgrounds. So there you go. Lots of things factor into that, obviously. All right, now of the careers. I have a few more words of generality about that too. This one kills me because it's so true. People that here are the types that take jobs that go for careers that make your conservative parents weep with either disappointment and or just dreadful awake all night after night worry about how you're possibly going to survive. So any jobs where there's an enormous amount of risk that you will never be paid, you're going to work really hard for a long time and you will never be paid properly for it, and there will be no security for you at all. Overwhelmingly, the people that go into those kinds of jobs are Ps. And I would even venture to say those that choose it are NPs. So INTPs, INFPs, ENFPs, ENTPs. And why? Well, another way of looking at that is people who have very heavy TI or very heavy FI running their shows. or being the helpmeet to the king, the personality type. They're the ones that are going to make these very impractical choices for a career. Why? Because the rules they're living by are not the rest. They're not everybody else's rules generally, and they're not. And they've got a kind of purity to their systematic reckoning that the people with these functions high up in the cognitive function stack just can't ignore. And so, in a sense, you could think of it as like they kind of have to do it. Like they know it's impractical too. They know the odds are that they're never going to be rich off of this, or it's quite a long shot, but they just feel like they have to do it. And those that go into the arts, those would be a lot of SPs as well. A lot of SPs in the performing arts and in the visual arts too. And again, you're probably not going to see most of that time and effort turn into money or any great amount of money at any time. But these people go into it because they're driven by concerns other than security and other than what is practical. They are driven, they can't ignore the drive to do something else, even though it is risky. And it might hurt at some point. So, in many ways. I would say within risky sort of careers, like say going into the arts or going into anything that's outside of any kind of work that operates outside of a large institution, a large stolid, not going anywhere institution with lots of rules and structure and heavy duty plans into the distant future for security and so on. Things that are going to institutions that will last. If you're going to work in careers that don't involve those things, and you're also not going into careers where you can make a lot of money in business, either by doing sort of skilled work, white collar work within those domains, or because you've got some great ideas and you've just got the nerve to do some venturing with other people's capital or your own capital if you can raise it to go and try some things out that might have a fantastic ROI on them. Those are going to be the P's. The P's are going to be doing much, much, much more of that. Now, there are some exceptions, though. I mean, there certainly are some, say, people who are also, you could go the other way. There are people who are, like I would say the ENTPs and the the ENTJs and the INTPs, the NTJs. These are people who tend to be very visionary, as well as very they've really got their poop in a group. They usually make that a priority once they're older. When it comes to what they've identified as their priorities, they work not that other people don't work very, very hard. Of course they do. But the NTJs, they're going to work very hard in a very precise way with a view to being, and this is the TE thing, with a view to getting a return on what they put into it. So there's going to be a heavy practical side to it. It's going to be a real combo of visionary and practical, needing to pursue something that's novel and interesting and that does some good, or that's moving something forward in the world of ideas, but that also is going to make some money, at least at some point. And they're going to plan for it they'll plan very carefully and see if it's feasible or not before they invest a lot in it. So, all right. Where are we? Going back to, maybe I should stop it there. Oh yeah, well, I'll just say what's the flip side? Where are the J's going? Well, the SJs are going much more often in the world in careers. They're going where, again, they're very security minded. So they also love to, this is true of sensors generally, they love to master a skill set, maybe many of them, and then practice and then just do them and just do them and do them and do them and do them. Like they get a real bang out of that. They feel really good about that, about being useful like that and being masters of whatever it is that they do. So they don't mind doing this thing they've mastered over and over and over again. In fact, a lot of them really like that, and they really like the repetition of it. Every time they do it, they feel good again. So, and hey, if they're getting paid for it, it's wonderful. So, a lot of, say, like SPs, for example, they might go into business where if they're working in the corporate world, where they might show up quite often as, say, in trading, actually, anywhere where there's excitement, where where there are fires to be put out, there are lions to be tamed, there are risks, mad risks to be taken that if they work out, you're going to win big. SPs would have more of a stomach for that kind of thing more often. It would suit them better, where there's some variety and excitement in the day. So stock traders, for example, I bet there are a fair number of SPs in there. That's just a guess, though. I don't know. I'm not hanging out with look at me. I'm not hanging out with a stock trader so much. I'm not going out for fancy dinners. But there's that. Okay, and the SJs are going to be going for things that are practical, that's part of the reason why you don't see so many SJs in the higher levels of higher education. Is part of the reason, a big part I think, is it's not because there aren't any SJs who can hack it up there intellectually. It's because they talk to themselves and are like, well, why would I go another many thousands, or if you're in the U.S., many thousands of dollars of debt, or in terms of lost income while I'm going to grad school forever, or debt from loans, or whatever, to be in school. Like, why would I do that? Like, why would I want to do that so that then I can have a job that pays like pretty well, a nice bourgeois living, but it's not nearly as much as I can make in business, for example. Why would I do that? So they're often, the SJs, they're itching to go and start, assuming their roles in large organizations, in institutions where they can mind the systems, they can maintain the systems, they can figure out, if they're TJs in particular, like where they can figure out how to better refine logistical systems for getting things done. And then maintaining those things and making sure those things are running properly and everything is as efficient as possible and cost efficient as possible and so on. They want to be doing that, and they want to get in there, and they want to get enough education so that then they can get a good job and start earning some money, and probably shoring up some more money too for sort of hearth and home and family and God, and as Kiersey said, are very important to the SJs. So, they want to make sure that if they have children, that they can absolutely provide for those children and provide very well for those children, very reliably and well into the future. And that's very, 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 very important that everybody gets their braces and all that. So, again, not that people of other types don't care about that just as much, but for SJs, that's very likely to be the priority, and that's why your SJ relatives are very, very pleased if you choose to go into something where you're going to get to work pretty soon and you're going to start making some money pretty soon, because they know that's really important, and that's very, very important for them. So, blah, 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 blah. Those are the some of the principles coming up, and now I'm going to get more into the specific domains coming up in the next couple of videos. So thank you for even staying with me. Okay.